Story 1. My great aunt used to talk to her dogs and ask them questions, then waited a few seconds and replied to them as if they answered her questions. Me and Mom thought it was crazy. Many years later, I got a dog, and I'm actually the same. Laughing out loud. Story 2. Did not do this intentionally, but definitely inadvertently messed with our receptionist today. I was ordering glasses online and was filling out the order form. I had all the information except for my pupillary distance. I read online that this information can be determined by measuring the distance between your pupils in millimeters. So I got up and started asking folks if anyone had a ruler. A couple did, but not one with metric measurements. So I went up to the receptionist and asked if she had a ruler with millimeters on it. She said yes. I asked if I could use it for a second. I got the ruler and went into the bathroom, within the receptionist's field of view, where I measured the distance, 69 millimeters if anyone is curious. I exited the bathroom and handed the receptionist back the ruler. She gave me a kind of weird look and hesitantly took it back. As I was walking back to my office, I realized that all the information she had was that I needed a ruler and proceeded to walk into the bathroom and walk out returning her ruler. I think she assumed I was measuring something other than my pupil distance. Story 3. Whenever I am on a public bus or train, and there is somebody playing their music through their earphones at an unreasonably loud volume, I stare them in the eyes and bob my head along with the beat. They immediately feel awkward and turn their music down or off. Story 4. I cannot throw away rubber bands. I just keep them in a drawer because you never know when you might need 100 random rubber bands. Some treat me like I am on the path to being a hoarder, but I swear I keep my place pretty clean and organized. Story 5. I enjoy doing nothing. I like being with my own thoughts, and people always freak out when someone is capable of sitting in silence without a phone or a book for more than 10 seconds. Story 6. Create a weekly vocabulary list with words I have picked up from books and articles. I have a vocabulary notebook. I write the definition, use it in a sentence, create a quiz, and make flashcards. If I miss more than 3 on my quiz, I study those flashcards for another week and retake the quiz. People think that is weird. Story 7. Well, not anymore, but when I was in high school, I worked at a video store. Every time I rented out a copy of The Ring, I would jot down the number of the account that rented the DVD and wait about 2.5 hours, then call the house and whisper 7 days. Story 8. Touch bugs, and not the ones that are considered cute. For example, if I see a worm in the middle of the sidewalk, I'll move it so it doesn't get stepped on. If a moth is bumping its head against a light bulb inside somewhere, I'll catch it in my hands and release it outside. As long as it's a bug that won't bite me, pinch me, or sting me, I don't care. I have a funny memory from when I was in school. I caught a crane fly in my hand and showed it to my classmates, and they freaked out even after I explained it was harmless. I still get similar reactions from adults to this day. Story 9. I look 12, but I volunteer for the ambulance and work in the hospital. When people ask about my work and I let them know that I have just been to a horrible car accident or something like that and help move dead bodies around, people are very surprised. Apparently, I look very innocent, so this is very surprising for people. Story 10. Part of what I do at my job in a restaurant is cut some bread into pieces and serve it at the table. We're supposed to give 2 pieces per person. This ridiculously awkward couple came in the other night. It looked like a first date or something. It's a nice place, but they were definitely overdressed, and they looked like they each had no idea how to act around the opposite sex. So, since they were having such a hard time talking to each other and were so shy, I intentionally cut them 5 pieces of bread instead of 4, so there would have to be some sort of moment where they both realized they each have had 2 pieces and that one remained. I knew they would both want it because the bread we serve is amazingly good, probably the best I've ever had at a restaurant. When I don't eat before work, I eat the bread as a meal. I watched them and it sort of worked. It actually went way smoother than expected. I was kind of hoping for some awkward, "You can have it." "No, you can have it." exchange. Story 11. I always go through instruction books from front to back. Apparently, reading the instructions to build things is abnormal. I also always get teased by my friends when we play games because the first thing I have to do when the game turns on is check the settings. I'm not sure why I do this. I find the settings fascinating. Every game is different. Story 12. When I go to shake someone's hand, I just tuck my thumb in at the last second, and their hand slides up my forearm. Confuses them and still makes me laugh. Try it. Story 13. I always plan aloud for my untimely demise, not in a strange way, just acknowledging that it could happen. Like if I'm going to swap the battery in my car, I tell my wife to check on me if she hasn't heard from me in 10 or 15 minutes, in case I did something foolish and electrocuted myself. Or if I'm flying overseas, I make sure she knows how to log in to pay the bills that I usually schedule, in case the plane crashes. People are alarmed about casually talking about death. But realistically, I could pop a blood vessel in my brain and die right now. Better to be prepared than not. Story 14. Speaking Tamil in public when I'm around other people who don't know the language. I'll casually say something like, Enapa, Ejala I rund halam razum sapaduvan, while talking to a friend, and people act like I'm plotting something secretive. It's just a regular conversation, nothing to freak out about. People act like the whole world should understand Tamil now, but hey, I'll keep speaking it. If you know. If you don't, enjoy the mystery. Story 15. In the mid-1970s, during the Ted Bundy era in Salt Lake City, I occasionally hitchhiked at night. I got a ride from downtown to the suburbs in a white van. Halfway there, near the turnoff to Park City, the driver said to me, "Now is where I usually take off up the canyon and have my way with you. You should be grateful that I have other things to do tonight." 15 minutes later, he dropped me off a bit away from my house. I went to open the door, but I couldn't open the passenger door from the inside or roll the window down. He got out, opened the door for me, and told me that I should probably be more cautious about who I get rides from. Story 16. When I go out to eat, I always drink straight from the cup without a straw. People freak out and say it's gross, but I remind them the spoons and forks they are using to eat with have also been in someone else's mouth. Story 17. My entire life, laugh out loud. I don't have much feeling in my hands and fingertips, so I tend to withstand cold, heat, and pain more. I go throughout my day, and people look at what I can touch and just say, "What the heck?" Story 18. My friend and I used to go jogging. We had a CD with Eye of the Tiger on it and would find joggers and drive next to them, blasting it. We didn't do it every day, but it was still fun. Story 19. I randomly dance in public, like bopping along to whatever music is being played at a store, doing a two-step at the bus stop. Apparently, it's embarrassing for some people around me, but meh. Story 20. Speaking fast. I probably have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, though I haven't gone through diagnosis, but well, I speak quite fast and I don't have much control over it. If I focus on slowing down, it requires so much effort I lose my train of thought. Well, people seem to find it really important to cut me off or simply ignore what I say in order to inform me that, wow, you talk so fast, or to make silly requests about me taking a chill pill. Basically, not living in an English-speaking country. Look, people, why do you care? Can you let me live with my harmless idiosyncrasies without harassing me? Story 21. This is a weird one, but I eat my favorite part of the meal first, which is the meat for me. My family thinks you should always save your favorite part until last. To me, that makes absolutely no logical sense. If I fill up on other things, then I might not be able to enjoy all of my favorite part or struggle to finish it. Besides, who cares in which order another person eats their food? It is not that deep. Story 22. Responding to most of a thread only to wake up and look at over 100 notifications and think, "Oh no, I did it again." And I will never respond to any of you. Story 23. I signed to my dog. He is completely deaf, and we taught him hand signals and a few things in sign language. It weirds people out when I sign to him but do not say anything at the same time. We do talk to him, of course, but it is a mix of verbal and nonverbal communication with him. Story 24. I have thick calluses on my hands from my job. I braze pipes and work with hot equipment, so I also have the finesse to hold extremely hot and cold objects without hurting my hands. When the Instant Pot is done making rice, I can immediately lift the rice pot out of the cooker and place it on the stove without hurting my hands. It freaks my wife out, so I like doing it, but I know what I'm doing and know I won't get hurt. Story 25. Employ empathy for all, regardless of who they are or what they have done, in an attempt to understand the motives and reasoning behind their actions and thoughts. Story 26. I do nothing. I am an atheist. People freak out after hearing that because I am from a religious country. I don't hate religious people, though. Don't misunderstand me. Story 27. Finally learning to stand up for myself. People don't like it. Well, I'm so tired of going along with or staying in relationships where, underneath it all, they don't care about me and mine. People are freaking out. They think they can vote against me and mine and still have the privilege of the relationship. I'm done with that. Story 28. Breaking the rules. To be clear, I'm not advocating for total anarchy, but so many people carry around with them this sense of getting in trouble. Low-level example, a friend and I went out to a store to pick up a deal on something they wanted. It showed in stock online. We get there, and a guy says it's out of stock, but he'll go look. I used the computer he was using, an employee-only computer, and saw that he had the wrong location. Changed it, and it showed it in stock. My friend was weirded out by it and said, "You're not supposed to touch that." I know, but who cares? It doesn't hurt anybody, and I wasn't acting with ill intent. And it got the job done. Walk past signs. Ask questions you're not supposed to. Whatever. I'm not talking about being a menace or just doing this stuff just to do it. There are very few institutions and people that have any real authority with consequences over you. Story 29. I limit screen time and sugar for my kids, age 2 and 7, and receive criticism for it all the time. A lot of people are supportive, while some only pretend to be until I'm not in the room. It's unreal how many people get defensive, interrogate me, and accuse me of being old-fashioned, a mean mom, a bad person, and everything in between. Family, friends, and strangers alike. Strange times. Story 30. When I have passengers, I like to say in the most depressing voice possible, "Do you ever get sad?" Then start to veer off the road slowly. It scares the shit out of people. Story 31. Talk plainly about my atheism. I don't brag about it, but if it comes up in conversation and I'm asked, I'm honest about it and people freak out. You don't believe in God? But isn't your family Catholic? Where do you get your morals? Many just can't wrap their heads around the concept. Sadly, a lot of people treat me quite differently after finding out. Story 32. Mine is cutting a bread roll or something similar. Not sure why it's odd, but most of my friends cringe when I do it as I cup whatever it is and cut down into my palm. I've always done it this way and never cut myself, but all my friends look away or cringe as I do it. Story 33. Join speakerphone conversations. It just freaks out two people, but it should still count. And the person on the other end of the phone usually freaks out way more. But they freak out at the person they were talking to. Story 34. I don't know if this fits the brief, but I'm an iced coffee drinker. Habitually, when I get to the end of my coffee and there's a tiny bit of liquid and some ice left, I'll fill up my coffee cup with ice. Sometimes I call it second coffee, sometimes I call it coffee water, but in my head, it's just an efficient use of resources. Anyway, people are super grossed out by it and freak out. Story 35. When I'm at work on my break, I don't like making the extra effort of cutting my apple into slices so that I can dip them into the peanut butter packets. Instead, I get a wooden knife and apply the peanut butter directly onto the whole apple, then take a bite. Story 36. I'm a 44-year-old man who, after a truly rough work shift, will sit down on the couch and watch Big Time Rush. That show was all chill, no stress, and genuinely just melts away the nonsense. Story 37. Read multiple fiction books at the same time. Admittedly, a very small subset of people seem to get annoyed by this, but said annoyance is weirdly extreme when it does happen. Story 38. Bicycle in snowy Japanese winters. People are so surprised and say I should not do it. The streets have heated water sprinklers, while the sidewalks do not. Businesses also dump snow onto the sidewalks. Last February, my friend slipped and broke her arm on the sidewalk. I think bicycling is safer than walking. Story 39. I tend to remember things about people they might have mentioned a long time ago, or just notice something they said or did, like having a red gem ring on their pinky, and one day they don't have it and I ask what happened to it. It freaks people out, so I tend not to say these things to new people. Story 40. I have a weird thing about cups. I think I had a couple of bad experiences at a boyfriend's house where the cup wasn't totally washed right, and I just stopped trusting random cups. I can't believe I am admitting this out loud. Anyway, I refuse to drink out of any cup that is shared by the people in my house, even if it is washed. My coffee cup? Stashed away from everyone else until I want to use it. My protein drink cup? Same. The list goes on and on. I just can't. Story 41. This wasn't harmless, but I thought it was. I used to use a knife to get the small piece of toast out, like crumpets or English muffins. A friend was over and I went for it and she completely freaked out. She literally was jumping up and down, telling me not to ever do that again, and I just went, "Why?" I was 12 or 13 at the time. I had no idea why it was a really bad idea.